Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video, and welcome to another MPG loop of the 2021 Land Rover Discovery. I'll take you on a quick tour of the car and then we're going to run it in our 70-mile-per-hour highway MPG loop. Now, why would we run an SUV off-roader in an MPG loop? Well, this is the family hauler. It's a 7-passenger car. It's a mild hybrid, and it's important to see what kind of economy you'll get cruising down the highway. So let's run you through the testing procedures, show you around the car, perform the test, and at the end we'll reveal the numbers. All right, let's start by this. This is a huge rear quarter panel. Take a look at this. I promise I'm recovered from being a little bit ill. Yep, so you have a nice little cover here. Got the car dirty. That shouldn't affect results much, although sometimes we give it the extra wax at the wash to eke out that 0.001 MPG extra. I'm just joking. This really shouldn't affect it, but it's a Land Rover. It should be dirty. What we're gonna do is fill it with premium fuel, as we do, because this one recommends it. $4 a gallon. Oh, fuel prices are back on the rise here in Colorado. So we're gonna go all the way at full bore on the handle until it clicks off. Once it clicks off, we'll give it 30 seconds. While it's filling, let me take you on a quick tour of this Discovery. This is the P360 model. I'll explain what that means. Here you have third row seats. I can drop the headrests, for example, use these two little switches on this side, and boom, they'll just fly down on their own. I love electrically controlled rear seats, and this is stellar. Super easy rear seat system to use, and even the second row I can tilt forward and back just from here, just like that, and I can even raise them back up. So I really love the usability. It's definitely thought out for families. I can even lower the rear suspension just by hitting this button. That's raising it, and this one will lower it, and you can watch the whole car sinking down here in the rear so that my golden retriever can jump in the back a little bit more easily. Land Rover just thinks of these things. Now we start the 30-second timer, so Jordan, just keep an eye on the video timer for me. While we're going around, I'll at least show you the back seat room now that we got it squatted in the back. So jumping in the rear here, I'm behind myself, 6'1", plenty of headroom, plenty of knee room, plenty of shoulder room, even with the door closed. And it has this neat little feature here where if I'm about to open a door and a bicyclist is coming up, it'll flash and say, hey dude, don't open your door. So, or a car or something like that. So how close are we to 30 seconds? Right now. So I'm gonna go full bore on the handle until it clicks off. Boom, that is what we consider a full fuel tank. Now, for our testing procedures, what we're going to do is, of course, make sure the tires are set at manufacturer suggested pressures. When cold, we've already done that. They will, of course, warm up throughout the drive, but we always set them at ambient temperature to manufacturer suggested. The car is off right now. What we're gonna do is start up the car as soon as we get in, select eco mode on terrain response, jump on the highway, go up to Cheyenne, Wyoming at 70 mile per hour GPS steady, come back to here. The reason we want to run a loop style test is so that if there's any wind going one way, we get that counteracted going the other. Also means there's zero overall elevation gain or loss. So no cheating here. This is our true MPG test. We run every car in this test. Conditions today, if you look at the flag over here, zero wind. Absolutely perfect. It is chilly though. It's about 32 to 34 degrees. So cold weather MPG test. Let's jump in, set up the car, and see how it does. All right, let's get the car on accessory power. So the car's still off right now. We need to first set our climate control. So we're gonna go 72 degrees, music off. We're gonna sync the left and right side, automatic fan here. We're gonna twist terrain response to eco. So eco program selected. I always run the most economical profile in the car that still lets me have climate control. No heated steering wheel, no heated seats. I made sure the car was completely warm on the way up here, wide open throttle runs up the highway. Everything's at operating temperature. What I'm gonna do is go into our system here, if it would let me. So here we go. Okay, we wanna go find our trip information. Boom, trip bank. Let's do a trip B. So now if I reset trip B, Land Rover systems are a little bit odd. We can see what the car thinks we'll get for MPG on this. It's predicting just about 400 miles on this tank, but we've kind of been ripping it around. This is such a fantastic powertrain. It's fun. So I would say everything's set up the way we want it. Eco mode, all good. Let's get our speedometer up every way we want it. Got my heads-up display enabled. And as soon as this guy gets out of the way, we're going to do start button into drive instantly and get our way up on the highway. I'll talk to you a little bit about how this mild hybrid system works. Start, drive, and off we go. Not connected to the pump. My biggest fear, even though it's never happened. Wonderful steering wheel, straight out of the Defender, by the way. Underneath, this car shares the same chassis as the Defender 110 or even the 90, just different lengths. This is shorter than the Defender by, I don't know, 15 inches?
15 inches, yep.
Yeah, 15 inches. And it's also not as tall, so it's
3.5 inches shorter.
3.5 inches shorter, but it's wider.
Yeah.
So it should do better than the Defender, but I don't know about the width, so we'll see how that plays in. Overall, though, this is just a stellar driving experience, but it's a little bit interesting. You'll have to tune into our full out-of-spec reviews for me to dive into it. Ooh, Land Cruiser. Thing looks good. 200 series. I like it. No secret, I'm a fan of off-roaders. And I just love Land Rovers in general because, I don't know, I've owned them. I like to go off-roading. After this MPG test, we're taking this on some trails, which should be fun. We're on the standard, I believe, 21-inch Pirelli all-season tire, so we're not on a specific winter tire. Everything's factory. So we come to a stop, for example, car's in auto hold, but it's not auto start stopping. Wonder why. If I click this little car, auto start stops on, just doesn't feel like it. So anyway, what the 48 volt mild hybrid system will do is there's an engine with a pancake motor starter motor, so there's no traditional like vroom. It has a little big electric motor that just twists it into life. No drama, no fuss, you don't even hear it, and it just comes right online. Now, consistent with all of our testing procedures, we're merging onto the highway with a little bit of speed, and I'm going to go gentle throttle all the way up till we reach 70 miles per hour at the end of the on-ramp. So I'm just progressively rolling into the throttle. The reason I try and hit 70 at the end of the on-ramp is because it gives most of the cars enough time to get up there staying out of boost. We're already at 60. Things seems to be revving out. We've noticed this with some more modern turbocharged engines, and almost at 70, 68, 69, 70, set at 70 miles per hour. We'll confirm this with our GPS meter here in just a second. I'll let you know if the speedometer's off. But the reason that we have this set on-ramp time, more or less, is just so cars kind of stay out of boost, because we just don't want to do a huge throttle load in an MPG test. But we're not cheating here. Every car gets run through the same paces. We have no control. All we're doing is piloting the car. I have no idea what this will do in the test, but I'm really curious with this inline 6. Cruising along here down the highway now. We're about 3 miles into our test. 70 miles per hour indicated here on the screen is a true GPS accurate 70 miles per hour. This is a wonderful place to be. First off, it has a heated windshield, which is cool. We're not using it, but I just love that Land Rovers typically come with heated windshields. It's also laminated. Unbelievably quiet in here, I have to say. There's a small rattle coming from the trunk, but that's because we've put something in the trunk. It's our fault. So this thing is built tight and solid. You know, Land Rovers, every time we do something with them, we get comments are like, that's going to be unreliable, good luck getting stuck on the side of the road. I have to say, after owning a few of them and pushing them probably well beyond their design limits off-road, on-road, and on track, which seems silly to do with their Land Rover product. They've been absolutely stellar, totally fine in my opinion. So we're just got this Jeep. Look at this guy, wide open throttle in the JL right there. Gotta merge onto the highway with some throttle, folks, especially when we cannot adjust our speed. This is a testing procedure. Anyway, cruising along nicely. I want to talk about driver assistance because this is my main issue with this platform, the Defender and the Discovery. In the Range Rover, the big one, even the last generation, but now the new one, you can get lane centering, which means the car will actively look at the lines and say, okay, I'm just going to put myself in the middle, and you just touch the wheel from time to time or keep your hands on it, and you know, just takes the fatigue of having to keep the car in the middle of the road out of the equation. Here, there is this little button on the steering wheel, which is now green because it's on. And what it's doing is it's looking at the lanes, so it knows exactly where the lanes are. And if I touch one of the lanes, look, I'm moving to the left, you'll see, it pushes us back into the right. But it's not keeping us in the middle. Like, this is almost pointless. It's certainly nice on a long trip to have lane departure avoidance. It's sort of lane keeping assistance, if you will. My Sprinter has the same thing, but if you can already see the lanes, you can already control the steering, just do the basic bit of keeping it in the middle of the lane. It shouldn't be hard. Everyone else does it. So that's my main issue. It's possible that you can option it on the Discovery, but I know on the Defender for sure you cannot, and that's an issue. This particular one also is not spec'd with adaptive cruise control, which you can spec. So in terms of driver assistance, bit of a fail in my opinion that it doesn't do active lane centering. I will check on the configurator and update the video if it's possible on the Discovery, but I'm at least complaining about the Defender because that's the one that I wanted to buy about a year ago and I couldn't get lane centering, and that honestly probably led to my decision not to buy it. If it had lane centering, I would have bought the Defender. Anyway, we got a long trip ahead of us up to Cheyenne and back. Let's see how this thing does. We are just approaching exit 7 in 1 mile from now, and this is again, of course, our 57.5 mile loop. Have to say, perfect conditions. We didn't have to come off 70 miles an hour once. Take a look in front of us. It's just clear sailing, clear as day. Absolutely perfect. What I'm gonna do is we're gonna knock it off of 70 miles an hour right about, take a look out front. We'll usually do it right around the 65 mile an hour sign. So I'm going to tap the brake now. We're off of 70 miles an hour. We're coasting in. And it doesn't seem like the vehicle's disconnecting the driveline, although I believe it is capable of doing so. I'm trying to remember if the Defender did that. Hard to say. Some mild hybrids, when they have a pancake motor in between the engine and transmission, physically separate, but I don't believe this one does. Normally we can just continue going left around, but actually we have some traffic from the right. This is one of the few times we didn't have a perfect loop. So gentle throttle coming around here. We're going to merge back onto I-25 South to complete the loop. This is when we'll start getting accurate data. Anyone that does an efficiency test in a singular direction is not accurate. It cannot be repeated. It is, I mean, it's accurate for that specific test on that specific day, but this counteracts wind and elevation. And yeah, really feel strongly about these loop style tests. This is a cool blue ribbon truck wash. I bring all of the big vehicles we test over there for cleaning. They're awesome. Again, we're gonna hit 70 miles an hour by the time we reach the end of this on-ramp, so just progressively rolling into the throttle here. We're at 62, 65, and 70 right on cue. Nice. So we locked it back in on cruise, heading back to Colorado. And we are just nearing the end of our MPG loop. We're arriving here in Wellington, so we had, I would say, a picture-perfect run at 70 miles an hour, just tapping the brakes to kick it off 70. We're coasting off the highway now. Let's see how this thing does. What we're going to do is we're going to bring it back over to the fueling station, fill it back up, you know, the way we did it earlier, which was all the way full, 30 second back to full. We will then compare with the car's internal MPG number, give you both figures, and hopefully get you a range as to what we think this thing will operate in if you were to drive at 70 miles an hour on the highway. That's the point of this test. And I have to say, really impressed with the ride comfort, the noise. The Defender that I tested a year ago now, and I believe we'll be testing another one soon, actually had a lot more wind noise coming from up here. Granted, this is a lower vehicle, but definitely quieter in the Discovery than the Defender here. So happy to say that this is a little bit more of a luxurious experience. I'd probably still get the Defender because it's just cool, but hard to get these days and probably over sticker price asking. Let's go back to the same fuel pump where we started. I always try to if possible, and we'll fuel this thing up. How's that sound? Okay, we are back and we're filling it back up with premium fuel. In we go. Full pour on the handle, and then we will start the 30-second timer. Man, this thing looks good in this color with some dirt on it, doesn't it? That is just a fantastic spec here in the R design. I think that's what it's called, something like that. And now we start the 30-second timer. 2 gallons on the initial pump, not bad for most SUVs. Let's think about what we have done. We've done some, full-size body-on-frame V8s that do, 14 to 16 MPG. Then we've done some of the plug-in hybrids like the X5 and the XC90 plug-ins. Those did, I want to say, around 23 to 25 MPG. I'm curious to see what this has done. So once 30 seconds is up, we're at 28, 29, 30. Let's go full pour on the handle. There we go. 2.089 gallons. Oh my goodness. Let's crunch some numbers because this is going to be surprisingly good. And now it's time to crunch some of the numbers, and I have to say I am so impressed here with the Discovery, considering this has the inline 6 engine, but I think having this lower roofline from the Defender really helps. Anyway, in eco mode, cruising at 70, no issues, climate control on. The car and our 57.5-mile loop suggested we used 27.1 MPG. On the pump side, it worked out to 27.5, just about a little over 27 MPG in a 3-row, 7-passenger, off-road capable SUV that has great performance, 355 horsepower here. And what more could you want? That's a very impressive highway range, better than some of those plug-in hybrids that we've tested. And I have to say, I'm just totally blown away by that performance. The EPA numbers, just as a reminder, were 18 city, 24 highway, so smoking its EPA on the highway here. 21 combined is what they say. I say on the highway, 27.3.